Hi guys, welcome to the Web Basics workshop. My name is Ash. I'm the fresh rep of CFC. This is my first time running a workshop, so it's pretty exciting for me, and I am really happy to be doing this. Today I'll be showing you guys some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And with these skills, you can make some cool stuff. And yeah, so I have in front of me the slides that for the Web Basics workshop. And in this workshop, we're also going to be creating a website. Now, I have a prototype that I made uh, made specifically for this. No, it's not in here. Give me one sec. So the website we're going to be making is basically we're going to have a form where you can select the breed of a dog and you can give that dog a name, and when you submit the form it fetches you an image of a dog of that specific breed, and then it also says hi, my name is, and whatever you entered as the dog's name. I'm just trying to find the prototype that I made of the user interface. I made it in MS Paint, and I'm surprisingly amazing at using MS Paint. Hang on, where did that go? There it is. Yep. That's it. Yep. Hope you like it. Okay. Yeah, so it's not gonna look anything like this. Don't get scared. The website's gonna be somewhat like this. Is just the layout, the planning. It's gonna be a form on this side. We're gonna have a field for the name, a field for the breed where you can select the breed. It's like a drop down thingy, and you press the adopt button, and then it fetches the image from an API. Don't get scared if you don't know what an API is. I'll be explaining it. It just writes a nice little text here saying, hey, my name is name. Now this is in a curly braces because it's like the convention for templates. So it basically inserts the name that you entered here. And yeah, so let's get started with this workshop. Cool. So the first technology we'll be looking at is HTML. It's basically one of the most important part of a web page. The HTML determines the structure of the web page, where the components of the web page will be, and how you want to have the layout of the web page. So yeah, it is made up of elements. If you want to know what elements are, they're these things: div, h1p. This is an example of HTML code here. Most elements have opening and closing tags, like hello. You have the opening paragraph tag and the closing paragraph tag. And if you look at this example code, you have a div tag opening here and a closing here, and this is the code that is inside that div tag, just like that. And even for this one, h1, that's a heading tag. You've got this stuff inside it, and that's the closing tag. So that's how HTML knows that, hey, this text here, this is going to be the heading. Cool. Yeah, there's two important tags we should know about: divs and span. So div tags are basically an empty container that is used to define a division or a section of a page. Like this one here, this is one particular section of a page. That's why we put it inside a div. The other type of tags you should know about is a span tag. A span tag is basically like inline containers. So if you want to put a specific word in a sentence inside a container, you can wrap it around with the span tag. We'll don't know if I have an example here, but like if I just open VS Code, I'm going to show you a quick example. Hi, my name is Ash, and if I want to put that inside a span tag, whoop, not that. I can't type. Oh, well. Oh, that didn't go good. It's hard to type when you have a mic in front of you and there's a few people watching. Yeah, so now this word here is inside a span container, and it's a span is used for inline containers, and when I say that, I mean, like, you can see it's in a sentence, and in that sentence we have a mini container here. So yeah, and I can give it special effects by selecting this span tag. Selection is usually done using classes or IDs. We'll be having a look at that soon. Yep, and other cool things you can do with HTML is you can create inputs and text fields, which you will be seeing. Hang on, I'll just look at the workshop text to make sure everyone is looking, everyone's up to date. How do I full screen the share screen? I don't know, Arya. I'm sorry.
We can tell you if there's any questions.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
No problem.
Cool. Some of the main elements for a HTML code is the HTML, the head, and the body tag. So if I go back to VS Code, let me just get rid of my whole code. A HTML page basically starts off with the HTML tag. Yep, the opening and the closing tag. Let me just take my mic down a bit so that I can actually see my keyboard. Okay, it's a new keyboard, so I'm not fully like memorized with the layout. So your HTML code goes inside this HTML tag. When you wrap it around that, the website knows that, hey, my HTML code is right here. And the HTML tags, and after that you've got your head tag, and there's meta information in the head tag, and you have the body tag. When I say the meta information, I mean the information that is parsed by search engines to optimize the search results. This is not the information that the user sees on the website. That information is inside the body tag. So anything I type inside the body tag, like hi, the user is going to see that on the page. So I've created this file, index.html. .html is the extension for HTML files, and if I open this file up, is it reveal in File Explorer? If I just open this file up, it says hi. Yep, it says hi. All right, so yeah, that's a very basic HTML page. I can give it a title in the heading using the title tag. It's got an opening and a closing, and in there I can say my website. And if I reload this, you can see that the title up here it changed to my website. Cool. Now we can go back to our presentation. Yep, HTML contains all other elements. Head contains the meta info. Just explain that, and body is everything you can see. So here are some of the tags that you use for formatting the text. H1, H2, these are the heading tags. As the number gets bigger, the size of the text actually gets smaller. So H6 is the smallest, and H1 is like the biggest in size. I'll just quickly do a quick demonstration. Find a dog, since we're making a website related to finding pictures of a dog. Find a dog. So I have a H1 tag and a H6 tag, and let me show you the difference. See, this is H1 and H6. It's much smaller in comparison. Cool. All right. So you also have the paragraph tag. Every time you create a new paragraph, it goes to a new line. So pretty useful. Strong makes the text bold. Strong emphasize. EM makes it italics. Yeah, cool. Not much to look at. And I forgot to mention, we will be making this website alongside this presentation. So every time we learn something new, I'm just gonna go ahead and like add it into this website. At the start, it's not gonna look so cool, because when we get to the CSS part, it will start looking better. So the first initial thing I want to do is I want to have the heading up here, find a dog, and I just want to add this cool little line underneath it. So yeah, later on I'm gonna center align it using CSS and make the line look better. We'll get to that part soon. Cool. Back to the presentation. So we have some example code here. That's a heading for it, a paragraph, and you might be wondering, what is this OL tag here? Well, OL stands for ordered lists. You can have lists in HTML. If I just copy this, how can I copy that? I'll just type it out. Yeah. If I do OL, and for every item you do LI, you enclose it in the LI tags. Item 1, LI, item 2, and you have item 3. So if you have a look at that, it creates an ordered list. It's numbered, which is why it's called an ordered list. You can also have unordered lists, and if you guess correctly, then that tag is UL instead of OL. And if I refresh this, now there is dots. Easy. So that's lists. Alright, so HTML5, some of the cool things that they introduced here are like tags which are more semantic. Like you have a main tag where you can have the main section of the body. You have the header tag which has the header of the body. Footer holds the footer. Nav is the nav bar. I could show you what a nav bar is right now. If I just go to the CFC website, codersforcauses.org. You see this thing up here, the About Projects Events Guide. That's a nav bar. So, yep, that's it. Where did my presentation go? Oh, that's sad. There it is. Okay. Oh god. Okay. Yeah, you've got the video tag, and you also have the article tag and section tag. There's some more. Videos, obviously, for videos. Article is for content that I don't really know. I haven't actually used the article tag so much. Section is for a section, and you also have other tags with semantic meanings. Attributes. Attributes are basically what you use to you could be using them to style the page, like the style attribute, or assign it a class. Assigning classes to elements using the class attribute, and over here they have assigned the wrapper class to it. Over here there's a src attribute. What they're basically doing over here is they're pointing the source to cat.png. This is the image tag, so it's going to load cat.png. Yeah, image tag is obviously for that. This one here is an anchor tag. It is basically used for hyperlinking. So if you wrap a text around with the anchor tag, it's going to I'll just show it to you. Where is this? Okay, find a dog. So if I go around dog, and if I just add the anchor tags, here it is. And if I do href, was it href or was it src? It was href, yeah. www. I'll just do http google.com. If you go back to the site, yay, as you can see, it's been hyperlinked. So if I click on it, it takes us to Google. Pretty cool, right? Nice. All right. Yeah, so styles can be applied using the style attribute. I'll just, since you've already seen that, I might as well center align this text here. So if I want to center align it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a style called, and I'm going to use this attribute called text align and center. That should center align it. Cool, find a dog. Okay, images, we just had a look at that one, but yeah, you use this tag to add images. For some reason I don't want to copy and paste this. So it loads this GIF. Yes, you can even add GIFs using the image tag, and src attribute is used to point towards the link where it should fetch that image from, and alt specifies the text that it should show in case that image does not load. For example, the URL is not valid or something. So in that case, it will display, oh shit, Monica, if this link is not valid. SRC is required, obviously, because you're trying to show the image, so you got to specify the link to the image. And alt is optional, it doesn't have to be there. Useful for accessibility. Okay, cool. Hyperlinks, I think I just explained that pretty well. I did not make these slides. I did not make this HTML part of the slide, so I did not include this link. Do not go to this link, guys. But anyways, the anchor tag, this anchor tag particularly, it directs you to this website here, and target attribute with the value blank makes sure that this link opens up in a new window or a new tab. That's what you use the target attribute for, and it's wrapped around this text here: single men in your area. Cool. And yeah, it's just saying what it is for. href is the attribute that specifies the URL. You can have a quick read through this. It opens in another tab. Download specifies that the resource will be downloaded. That's another attribute, I believe. Cool. Internal links. This is pretty useful. You'll see this on a lot of like documentation and stuff like that. It's used in a lot of them. So if you wrap an anchor tag around a particular text and you specify an ID in its href attribute, it will scroll the page to the element with that ID. So for example, if you have got a header 2 with the ID rise to power, and you have another hyperlink somewhere in the page that points to the ID rise to power, you specify ID by putting the hash before it. When you click on this text, it's going to scroll all the way to this part of the page. Let me see if I can just show you an example quickly. Technically, I would have to set the height of this here to like 100 so that it actually scrolls down. And I'll just make another tag here. Okay, oh, whoops. Okay, so if I just set the height of this to like 100 VH as well. VH is basically 100 VH is basically telling the website that, hey, I want the height of this section here to be equal to that of the size of the window. Okay, test, and I'm just going to give this the ID test, and okay, dog. Oh, it's still got the A over there. I'll just get rid of this. Yeah, so if I specify the link of this and point it towards the element with the ID test, then watch what happens. So this this component, this element here has the ID test, and if I click on dog now, it's gonna scroll down to this test place. Yeah, pretty cool, right? Using some fancy CSS and like JavaScript, doing some bunch of witchcraft and sorcery, you can make this page actually scroll down smoothly, but that's kind of out of the scope right now. Okay, cool. Let's get rid of this because you don't really need it. Yeah, don't really need that. Cool. Alrighty. Let's go to the next bit. Alright, images plus hyperlinks. Yes, this is cool. You can hyperlink images. So if you click on the images, they will take you to the particular website or to the particular section of the page. Cool. And now we're up to some of the important bits. The form. Recall the prototype that I showed you at the start. It had a form. Okay, so forms are used to collect user input. They're defined by the form tags, and in it are the form elements such as input, text box, button. So input tags, they basically are the things that will actually take the input from the user. And there's different types of inputs. There's this one here particularly is a text input. It's like this little box that a user can type something into, and value is basically setting the text inside that text box. Typically you would use placeholder so that they know what they could type in it, but they've used value here. I'll show an example right now. Label is used to assign a name to that input field. If you see the for attribute here, it says name, and that basically tells this label tag that, hey, this is the label for the input tag with the ID name. So obviously this label is for this input tag down here. And over here we have an input submit, which basically creates a submit button. So when you click on the submit button, the form gets submitted. And to determine what we want the form to do when it's submitted, we can use some JavaScript, which we'll also be covering in this workshop today. If I just go back to my VS Code, I'm just going to create a form down here. Cool, form. You know what? I'm going to put it inside a div. So I'm going to create a div called class. Oh no, I haven't taught you guys classes yet, have I? So not good. So if you recall our prototype, let me just open it up again. So I want these two big boxes. Let's ignore that outer box. I want these two big boxes to be two separate divs. That's why I'm going to create two divs here. Yeah. Wait a second. Yeah, that's why I'm going to create two divs for that. So for the first div is what has the form in it. So let's go ahead and do that. And I want the first input field to be the text type. And now I'm going to write placeholder here. Placeholder, it's basically the gray text that appears in some input fields that basically indicate to you what they want you to write inside the text box. I'll show you. Name, pet name. If you go to the website now, yeah, you can see that that's a placeholder. So it's not actual text. It's like kind of indicating what you're supposed to write in the text. A text box, sorry. And yeah, I'm also going to go ahead and add a label. Label for, let's call it pet name. Say pet name. Cool, and that means I'm gonna have to assign an ID to this called pet name. Alrighty, so that should, yep, that's it. That's the label. Cool. I'm also gonna add another input type. Input type called submit. Type submit. Value. This time we have to set a value for it. I'm gonna call that adopt. The value should be adopt because I want to display the text adopt. And yeah, as you see, when I click it, it kind of refreshes the page. No, it didn't do anything, which is good because I don't want it to do anything right now. So we'll be using JavaScript later on to make this form actually do something, and so kind of just hold tight until we get to that part. Yeah, so that's how you make a form. Pretty easy. There's other things you can add to a form. You can add buttons, you can add text boxes. Best to check out some documentation on this one. Oh yeah, the other types of inputs, you can have radio buttons. They're basically like those multiple choice question kind of buttons. You've got like over here they have red, green, blue, so you get 3 buttons that you select for based on which color you like. And when you click submit, the form does what it's being designed to do. Form action, the action attribute, basically it can change the destination of a submitted form. If no action is defined, the current page will be the destination. Yeah, so if I write action is equal to google.com, it's going to take me to, oh my bad, http it takes me to Google. So that's what action does. Well, in the past, you would actually redirect this to a PHP file. I don't know how much PHP files are used nowadays. I'm not going to give any comments about that because I'm not an expert, but yeah, you'd like redirect them to a PHP files which do something with the data entered in the form. But there's other things you do nowadays. Like yeah, like if you're using Express, you could be redirecting oh wait, you guys would know what Express is, but you'd redirect this to like you could redirect this to some other page in your website, like just a plain HTML page that says thank you for submitting the form. Could be a good use. Yeah, now we're starting with CSS. So this is what our website looks like so far. Nothing interesting. We can start making it look better now that we have reached CSS, because CSS is what we use to style our HTML page. Our HTML page, like I said, is just the layout, the structure of the page. CSS is what actually makes it look the way you want it to look. Yep, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. We use it to style a web page. It tells the browser how to display elements returned in HTML. And yeah, the format of CSS code is you've got the selector, you've got an attribute, and you have an effect for that attribute. You can write CSS in this format in a CSS file, or you can write it inline using the style attribute of that you can write in tags and write a attribute and effect in the HTML file itself like this, or you can write it in a style. I'll just show it to you, the two cool ways of doing it. Yeah, so either I could, in the style tag, I can define classes, like let's say this is how you define a class example, and I can set the color to, let's say, green. Now if I assign this this particular class to, let's say, this label here is equal to class example, then it turns green. That's green. I don't know if it's visible or not. Or alternatively, what I could do is I could use inline CSS. So if I do style is equal to color, and this time I'm going to make it red. And if I refresh it, you can see it becomes red, just like that. Or I could store the CSS in a separate file, which is probably the most desirable thing to do in this case. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a new file called style.css. This is going to consist of all my styling for the page. So this is the file, style.css. First thing I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to link it in my HTML page, and we usually link our style sheets in the head section of the HTML page. So you use the link tag for that, and you specify the location using href, I believe. I could be wrong. I get mixed up between the href and the src one thing. And I need to tell the document that this is a style sheet. Cool. So in here I could do class example, or actually, you know what, find a dog. I'm gonna assign this a class called heading, my heading. Okay, and here you go. So in the style sheet, I'm gonna give it a style. Let's say color, no, text, align is center. Right, so now you don't have any styling over here. It's just in the style sheet. And if you go back, as you see, it remains in the center. So now the styling is being done in the style sheet itself. Cool. All right, what else can we do? We can just go back to the presentation. Oh yeah, selectors. I think I just explained what selectors are, but anyways, yeah, these things here, they're selectors. Hope that makes sense. So up here, I'm selecting a tag. That's the thing about CSS. You can select a tag, you can select a class, or you can select elements. So over here, basically, I'm saying that, hey, every single h1 tag, I want you to set the color of the text to blue. And that's what's happening. And over here, I'm saying that, hey, every element that has the class container, set the background color of those to yellow. Down here, I'm saying that, hey, every element with the ID button 1, set the font size to 16. Now, this hover thing here is what we call a pseudo class. And this hover thing is specifically a user action pseudo class. It's basically saying that when the user hovers over the element with the ID button 1, apply this style to it. So in this case, it might be a button with the ID button 1. When the user hovers over it, it's going to change the font size to 32. And when the user takes their cursor off that element, it will set it back to 16, which is pretty cool. It makes it look fancy. Right, you can have multiple selectors. You can specify multiple tags. Paragraph, li, h3, and you can say that, hey, I want all the elements with these 3 tags to have this styling. You can select multiple classes at once and a tag together, and you can give it some styling. Pretty cool. Let's see how much time we have. I should keep a track of time. Okay, we've got 1 hour. So some attributes for CSS are background color, border color that sets the font color, font height, width, margin is self-explanatory for setting the margin of the element. A really useful website is W3 Schools. So if I go to that one right now, or I can just open it here, W3 School CSS reference. Yeah, so it's got all these cool attributes that you can apply to the text, and it's a really good idea to refer to this website when you are trying to style your page, because it's useful and you'll end up memorizing them as you use them more often. Yeah. Another website is the Mozilla Doc. It's also got a lot of CSS references. Oh yeah, one of my favorite things, Flexboxes. So if you want to position something on your page, how are you gonna do it? Well, there's this thing called Flexboxes. It's one of the ways to position elements on a web page. And basically what you do is you define a container as a flex container. And once you do that, you get some superpowers that let you position the items inside that container. I'll be showing you a cool example right now. Playing with Flexboxes. Yep. So, right, I have 4 items here. It says, hello there, young one. So, it's already been defined as a Flexbox. Wait, let me just open this up. Cool, now it's open in VS Code. So that's the style, that's the HTML page. Hello there, young one. And the style sheet for it is this. You don't have to focus on the body styles and the box styling. That's just the styling for the how I want the boxes to look. We're focusing on the flex box. So I'm just going to pretend I never wrote this. Let's see what happens. So typically when I write this HTML code here, like this, it's going to show boxes one underneath another. And I have this big box class div that is wrapped around these items. So what I'm going to do to declare this as a Flexbox container is I'm going to select this class, and well, yeah, I've already done that here. And in that class, I'm going to give it an attribute called display and set that to flex. And as soon as I do that, they get aligned like this in a row. So there's something about flex boxes here. There are these 2 attributes that you need to keep in mind. One of them is justify content, and the other one is align items. Justify content basically makes basically positions the items in the along the horizontal axes. I'll show you an example right now. So if I do justify content and I do center, watch what happens. See, it gets positioned to the center. If I want to position those to the let's say the left side, I would do something like flex end, and if I refresh that, it gets positioned towards the end of the page. So like you see, justify content is changing the position of the elements in the horizontal axis direction. Now align items, on the other hand, it changes the position. It adjusts the position of these items along the vertical axes. Let me show you an example. Align items, and now if I do center, so vertical axis is this direction. So if you've guessed correctly, then it should appear somewhere in the center of the page. Oh, whoops, it didn't. That didn't work. Why isn't it working? Oh, that's right, because yeah, because the height is supposed to be 100, because right now what's happening is my height is only that much, so it's not going to do anything. So, and now I've put a semicolon here so that this attribute is working, and yeah, it gets aligned towards the center of the page. If I want it at the bottom, I could do flex.end. Yep, that's it. And if I wanted this item in between the page, I'll have to set both justify content and align items towards the center, like that. Just easy as that. I'm just going to get rid of align items for some time. And another important thing I want to show you guys is, let's see, if I make my web page smaller, watch what happens when I make the width less than the actual total width of this container. It's kind of squeezes. I don't want that. I don't want it to do that. I want it to send the items underneath the ones that are already in the page. To do that, we can add a attribute called flex wrap and just set that to wrap, and now watch what happens. So if I refresh that, and boom, it goes below the ones that are already in the page. But hey, now there's this weird ugly kind of space, and we don't want that, right? So there's this attribute that you use to fix that. It's called align content. Align content is a bit different from align items. Flex.start. So I'm not going to dive into the specifics, but you want to use align content when your items are not in the same row. When they're in the same row, you just want to be dealing with align items attribute. But since they are not in the same row, you want to be using align content to actually align your items. So yeah, if I do align content flex.start, it kind of sticks them together like that. And I can use align content to center them or bring them at the bottom of the page. Cool. It's as easy as that. Right, so that's it for the Flexbox. Yeah, these are some of the attributes that are really useful for when dealing with Flexboxes. Flex direction. Oh, I forgot to show flex direction. Yeah, you can set the direction of the Flexbox. I'm just gonna get rid of this. So if I do flex direction column, it's going to turn it into a column. And also, when you change the flex direction to column, it switches the axes. Now justify content is going to change the position along the vertical axis, and align items is going to change the position of the items along the horizontal axes. So it has been switched up. So if I want to center align it this way, I'll have to use align items to do that. I'll have to do align item center, and it will bring it in here. Cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna move forward because we're running short on time. Yeah, an amazing resource, flexboxfroggy.com. Believe it or not, I learned Flexbox I think like 2 weeks ago. Friends and Jeremiah recommended me this source, Flexbox Froggy. It is so cool. It's like this 24 level game that you just It's got 24 levels, and it teaches you Flexbox. Please check it out. If you don't know what the Flexbox is, just do it. This is like the best way to learn the Flexbox. It's amazing. It doesn't take long. Okay, JavaScript. Before we get into JavaScript, I want to work a bit on our website that we are working on here. Okay, find a dog. Now, what I want to do is I want to create those like divs and like actually give them colors, like background colors. So one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a framework called Bootstrap. Now, don't get scared. Bootstrap is basically a CSS framework that already has done a lot of styling, and we are free to use them. So to include the Bootstrap CSS in your page, you just have to go to this page and come down over here to this section and just copy that CSS file again. Here it is. Right. Now that I have the CSS in here, if I reload it, as you can see, the font kind of changed. This is Bootstrap's default font. So now that we have the Bootstrap CSS imported into our website, what we can do is we can use some of the classes that Bootstrap has provided to us to style our page. So also I am going to... Bootstrap has its own way of letting us use the Flexbox, so I'm gonna demonstrate that to you right now. I'm gonna get rid of these divs I made, and let's do it in a more proper fashion this time. I want to make our page actually look much better than it is right now. So what I can do is hold on. Just let me know if the code is being obstructed by the website too much. I'm gonna try and like make sure that doesn't really happen. So also I'm gonna install an extension called Live Server. What this will do is it will automatically refresh the page whenever I make a change. I think it's this one. Okay. And once I've installed that, to actually open it, I'm going to do open with live server, allow access, and there we go. Now something cool is that it's going to refresh on its own, and I don't actually have to worry about doing that myself. Just make sure it's loading. Cool. So now what I can do is I want to make this HR, this line, I want to make it smaller. I don't want it to be this wide. It's way too wide right now, and I don't like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go here, gonna give it a class called my line. Just think of something quickly, and I'm just gonna give it a width of like let's say, I don't know, 200px, or actually I'm just gonna give it 15%. Is that a good idea? Oh, it just disappears. No, not a good idea. I'm just gonna 200px. Why is it disappearing? Hold on. That's kind of weird. Doesn't? Oh, okay, yeah, it's not disappearing. It's going over there because it's not being center aligned. And since it's not being center aligned, I'm just gonna put it inside a Flexbox. Use the knowledge that we just learned right now. In Bootstrap, we basically create a div and we give it the class dflex. Now this div tag here is a Flexbox container, and this is one of the flex items. And to center align this line here that we saw in the page, I want to center align that line underneath this heading. What I do is, instead of actually going into CSS and modifying the attributes of this outer class, all I can do is I can just add the class justify content center, because Bootstrap has provided me this class, so I can just write it here. It's much easier than actually going into CSS and doing all that. And as you can see, can you guys see this? I don't know, I'll just zoom in, but yeah, basically the line is underneath find a dog now. It's been center aligned. Easy as that. I'm just gonna make it a bit wider to make it look slightly bit better. No, I'm not a designer, so don't judge my designing skills. there you go. That looks much better than it was before. Cool. Now let's go ahead and actually add those two divs. Okay, I'm just going to create a outer flex box that will allow us to position those two inner div tags, one for the form and one for the image. So I'm going to define this as a flex box using the dflex class. I'm going to create the two divs, one for the form and one for the image. So let's give both of these a class called box and box. That's cool. Now I've given them a class called box. I'm just going to go to CSS and I'm going to add some styling to that class. So I'm going to give it a height of, let's say, 200 px. Nah, that's pretty small. How about 400 px? Yeah, and a width of like, I don't know, 200 px around about. So yeah, we can't really see them because their color is white, so I'm gonna set their background color to, let's say, I don't know what that is, but I'm just gonna hover over this and it lets me select a color. Cool. Now if I save it up, we get that, and we don't want that. I don't know what that is. Okay, deflex. So those are I want the content to be in center, so justify content center. It's in the middle now. Obviously it's too big. Oh no, I'm just zoomed in. Yeah. So yeah, I forgot to show you guys another cool effect. You can basically modify the space between elements in Flexbox, but I think I'll just do it in here right now. So justify content space between, I think between, yep, no, that's not the one that we want to do even. Nope, evenly. Yep, that's the one. And yeah, so basically if you want to do this in CSS, you would do justify content as an attribute, and its effect would be evenly. What it does is it makes the spaces around and in between the items even. So I've done that. I want to increase the width of this to like 400 px. That's better. You know what? Wait, actually, I'll make them larger. I'll make the space larger. And as you can see, the cool thing about Bootstrap is, like, if I zoom in, it's kind of like adjusting the thing. So yeah. All right, these two are my boxes. I've got what I need now. Now we need to actually add the inputs. Cool thing about Bootstrap has styled inputs for us. So if you go onto the Bootstrap page, there's actually a section for components, and oh, there's a section for form stuff. So if I go into that section and I go to the input group, I can find inputs right here. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this section over here and put it here. There you go. I want the label to be something else. I want to be pet name. Cool, and the ID over here is basic add-on. I don't really need it to be that. I don't think it should make too much of a difference. Pet name. Oh, whoops, it's in the wrong div, I believe. Yep, it's in the wrong box. So I'm just gonna cut that and paste it into this one. I want it in here. Cool. Hang on. Let me see what. Right. Span. Right. Actually, I'm gonna do it a bit differently. So this is not how I want to do it. I'm gonna add a label and I'll call it pet name. Cap's kind of screwed up. Yep, that's one. I'm gonna give it the class called form label, which is a Bootstrap class. I saw that class somewhere in here. Yeah, form label. Yeah, that will make our label appear like this. Okay, and I want to input over here. I'm gonna call this input. I'm gonna make this input a type text, and Class, it's a Bootstrap class called form control, which makes it look nice and elegant. I'm going to give it an ID. IDs are very important. Remember, we use IDs to select tags, and we can even use classes or the tag name itself, but IDs are super useful. Pet name will be the ID for this. I'm going to give it a placeholder. So placeholder. What are we going to be entering into this input? Well, I want them to input the name for the pet, so I'm just going to add like an example, Barry. So if you go back to the website, this is what it's done. Doesn't look good right now, but okay, I have, oh right, I forgot something. I didn't declare the form tag. I was supposed to do that. I swear it wasn't supposed to look like that. Oh wait, input group, that's the reason why. I don't want this class here. It's grouping it because of that. There you go, that's appearing on the next line. Whoa! Anyways, alright. So we've got the pet name over there. I could add something else. Let's see. You could add that selecting div that I talked about for selecting the breeds. This one's gonna we're gonna use JavaScript to actually fetch the different names, different breed names from an API, but we'll get to that in a few seconds. Okay, I want to give this a class MB3. The MB class is usually actually for bottom margin, because we're going to be adding buttons underneath that. So I want to give it a margin at the bottom so it actually spaces it out. And label class, it's form label. I could just copy and paste, but yeah, breed. I'm just gonna say select breed. Don't need that space there. Select breed, and this time we're adding a different kind of input. We're just going to add a select input. So there's actually a tag for this called the select tag. Hang on. I'm just going to give it a class called form select, which is also a Bootstrap class, which makes it look like this. But for now, I want to give it an ID so that I can actually capture the value inside this, because you actually select the input field using its ID, and then you capture its value using a variable kind of thingy. I'll show it to you when we get to the JavaScript part. I'm just gonna name this pet breed, and yeah, I think that's all. What else do I want? I want a nice little submit button down here. Div class. Okay, I'm gonna make this Flexbox because I want the submit button to be in the center. So justify content center. Yeah. And now I'm gonna make an input of type submit. And class, I'm gonna give it the class btn button success. There's different types of buttons. You can see them all on the Bootstrap website. So there you've got the submit button. So if you go to the Bootstrap website and if you go to components, there's a whole sections for buttons. Yeah. You can see the different classes and the result they produce. btn success creates a green colored button, btn danger creates a red colored button, and all that stuff. It basically shows you what class does what to the specific thing. Really cool. Yeah, so now I have this here. I don't want them to like kind of stick on the outside like that. Like, look at that. You see the edge of that thing? It's like touching my div's border. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in here and yeah, my box class. I'm gonna make a change to my box class. Oh, what am I doing to my HTML page? Yeah, in my box class, I'm gonna add padding. I believe it's padding. Yeah. So I set my padding to 20px, and already it's looking like 10 times better now that it's not kind of sticking to the edge. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a border. I'm going to give it a border of 2px, but I'm not going to give it a border. I'm just going to give it a radius. I don't know if you need to actually apply a border to use border radius. What this will do, it's gonna kind of round off the edges like that. Hang on, let me just see. Yeah, you don't need to give it a border. So yeah, I'm gonna set the border radius to 10px, which kind of rounds off the edges, and now it's got those elegant looks. So if you recall our prototype, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Okay, cool. So now I've got this and that. Right. Also, in case you wanted to know how you actually add options to a select type of input. So what you basically do is you have this option tag, test1, and you can add multiple of those option tags, test2. So if I go to this, now I have two options called test1 and test2, but we're going to be fetching them from an API. So now is the time I should introduce you to the API. I think it's called doc.ceo. So if you guys recall what Frinz taught in the previous workshop, he said an API is basically, it stands for Application Programming Interface, and yeah, so it is an interface for application programs. It's used to communicate between softwares, and in this case we're going to be exchanging data. We're going to be we'll basically make a request to this particular link, and the website will send us a link to an image, and we will be using that link to display that image on our page. So I will be actually showing you the image tag because I didn't really show an example of that, so sit tight. Yeah, so this is the API. If I go to breeds list, kind of have they're showing you how it works. So if you like select a particular breed, it loads a random image of it. That's cute. Yep. So right, I'll just keep this here because we'll be using it very soon. Now JavaScript is basically the thing that brings your page alive. It makes your page alive. It gives life to your page, because using JavaScript, you're gonna make buttons actually do something. You've made the buttons using HTML and CSS, but you want the button to do something to the page. Cool thing about JavaScript is that you can add you can write HTML code you can write stuff to your HTML page using JavaScript without actually even touching the HTML page, and you can add styles or modify styles using JavaScript as well without changing the CSS of the page. So you can have a button that suddenly changes the color of every single word on the page or something like that. You can have a button that sends a request to our website, and have that website send you back a link. So that's something that's just foreshadowing what we're about to be doing soon. So JS is a web scripting language. It is used for functionality or reactiveness of the page. It allows CSS or HTML to be modified without code it allows for CSS and HTML to be modified with code, user interaction included. So you can write JavaScript code in your page itself using the script tag. So this is just a basic JavaScript code. Yeah, document, that's just a keyword. It has to do with the document object model. The document object model it's something that you use to that allows us to interact with the website using JavaScript. No need to write too much, no need to go into too much detail about that, but whenever you're manipulating the document object model, you use this keyword document dot, and then it has a bunch of methods that allow you to do certain things. In this case, the get element by ID method is used to select an element with a specific ID, which in this case they have used hover, and that has another value called style, which allows you to set the style of that element, and the particular style they're setting here is the color. So let me show you what the other ways of including styles scripts in your page are. So the first one we looked at was using the script tag. See, you've got script, and you can write something here like alert test. Now if you go here on the page, this is what happened. If I reload it, it gives me an alert test. And yeah, I can, if I want to write this code in a separate file, I'm just going to do that right now. I'm going to create a new file called script.js, and to link this file to our page, what we have to do is we have to go to the bottom of the page and type script src and give the path of the file. It's just script.js because it's in the same directory. Just specify the type of file. It's a text, it's a JavaScript file, and yeah, so now it's been linked. So if I do alert, this time I'll do some different text. Test I don't know, hang on, and test. It's done it. Cool. Yeah, so we know that our file has successfully been linked. I can do cool stuff using JavaScript now. So yeah, that's how you link JavaScript to your page using the script tag. I'll just go over it quickly again. You use the src attribute to specify the path, and you use the type attribute to specify the type of script it is. And it's JavaScript in this case. Cool.
Ash,
yes?
Ash, we have like 20 minutes, by the way.
Oh, okay. Let me see how many slides there's. Oh, there's a few more slides. I'll just rush through it quickly so we can finish off the website. Okay, thanks for the reminder. Okay, so I just showed you how to import external JS files to HTML files. So familiar stuff. If you've done programming before, you should know what variables are, functions, and you should know what math logic is, arrays, scopes, and objects. I'm just going to quickly show you how to actually define variables in this. So you use the var keyword or the let keyword or the const keywords. You can use these to define variables like var num is equal to 1, or let num is equal to 1, const num is equal to 1. We tend to not use var. If you want to know why why you shouldn't use var, stick around at the end of this workshop, but we're not going to be explaining that right now. The let keyword basically lets you create a variable with a temporary reference, so you can change the reference of this. So like if this particular variable is pointing to a particular object, in the future you can say, hey, point to this object instead. I don't want you to point it to that one. Whereas with constant variables, if it's pointing to a particular object, if it's holding a particular object, you can't make it hold a different object instead. So yeah, const variables have a constant reference. Yeah, these are some examples. Let a is equal to 3, that's holding a number. Const name is equal to Bob, this is holding a string. Yeah, variables can hold different types of data, so numbers, strings, it can have an array. Array is basically a data type that can hold multiple data of different data types. And this over here is an object. It is an object that's a key, that's a value, name Flynn, age 9. All these light colored things are keys, and the ones in the purplish kind of color are the values for those keys. Functions, the syntax for function, you use the function keyword to define a function. There is actually 3 ways I can think of defining functions. Function keyword, the name of the function, and you put brackets, and you can have parameters in here, and you can do something with the parameters in this code block. And if you don't want any parameters, you just don't write any parameters, just have these 2 parentheses, and the code block is opened with curly braces. You write some code in here and do something with it. Yeah, or you can store functions in a variable. So now my variable name is basically my function name. It is equal to the function keyword, and you have the parameters inside the parentheses and your code block in the curly braces. So if I want to create a function called ABS, I don't know why it's called ABS, it was just a random keyboard slam. So this function, when I call this function, it's going to console log hello world. And to call a function, I basically write its name, have the two parentheses, and semicolons are optional in JavaScript. You don't have to have them, but it's good practice. And this prints out hello world. And the greet function that I've created here, it's taking a parameter called my name, and it console logs hello there, and plus is used to concatenate strings. So whatever value I pass for my name, in this case, when I call the function, I passed in Benjamin. So the value of my name will be Benjamin. It will say hello there, Benjamin. Yeah. Also in JavaScript, you can concatenate strings using either plus or a comma, which is cool. And yeah, over here I've used more than one parameter. You can have as many parameters as you want. So I say Jake5, then it will say hello, hi, comma. As you can see, I've used comma this time for the concatenation. It's going to say hello, hi Jake, you are 5 years old. Straightforward. Arrow functions, very important. They're another way to define functions. So I've got my function name here. In parentheses, I've got my parameters, and instead of the function keyword, I've got an arrow on this side. It's like equal to and greater than sign. That defines, that basically replaces the function keyword, and it just makes it easier because it's faster to type and cleaner syntax. So yeah. So example, const greet, console log hello world. When you call the greet, it outputs hello world. Okay. Math logic operators, greater than, less than, equal. These are the logic operators. If you've done programming, you should definitely know what these are. And yeah, so and or and not, they're pretty straightforward. If you these basically return, logic operators return you a Boolean value. So if you do 2 is less than 3, it's gonna return true, and it's gonna evaluate the true block of this if condition. If condition basically works like this. It takes a condition. If it's true, it evaluates the first block, and if you have an else block, it will evaluate that if this condition is false. So in this case, it evaluates to yay. And if you have the not operator, it basically inverses the Boolean value. So 2 is less than 3 will give you true. If you do not true, that gives you false, and that will evaluate to nay, because that's in the false code block. And the and block, I've got a table here, and operator. So if you have a true, and will return true. If you have a true and false, you'll return false. The logic of it is that both values need to be true for true to be returned, else it's going to be false. Or if either of the values is true, it's going to return a true. Okay. That's how OR works. We don't have too much time, so I have to kind of rush through this. Math operators, plus, minus, division, they're pretty simple. This is modulo. Modulo basically returns you the remainder of a division. So if I do 10 mod 2, it's going to return 0 because 10 is divisible by 2 and it has no remainder. So if I have a num mod 2 is equal to 0, return yes. So essentially I'm checking if this number is even or not. So if I pass in is even 4, it's going to do 4 mod 2 is equal to 0. So this it is equal to 0. So this will return true, and it will execute this code block which returns yes. Whereas with 5, this will return false because it won't be equal to 0, and it will end up returning no. Yep, arrays are basically ordered lists of values. There's nothing to explain in that. This is how arrays look like. Yeah, and they're indexed, so it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So if I do my array, and in square brackets I do index 0, it's going to return 1. If I do my index, if I do my array and index 4, that's going to return 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to return hello to us, just like that. Oh, I don't know what happened to this. Anyways, objects are variables that can hold more than one value. So something went terribly wrong with this page. Hang on, I can't really make that. Hi guys, this is Ash from the future. So I just want to tell you guys that this here is an example of an object. This object is called myImage. It consists of key value pairs. Format, resolution, ID, and isActive are the keys, and the values in front of them are the values associated with those keys. To print out a particular value, such as the resolution, I can do myImage.resolution and put that in a console log. This logs 1920 by 1080 into the console. Yeah, I was just going to explain loops and stuff like that, but if you have done programming before, you would probably already know about this. And yeah, they're pretty much the exact same like Java. Yeah, you've got the break statement for loops and continue statements just like you do in Java. And there's some very important functions for arrays. You've got a map function. What the map function does is it iterates over each item of an array, and then it grabs that item and you can perform some operation on that item, and it returns that item to an array. And once all the iterations are done, it returns that new array to us. And yeah, it performs the operation on that item. In this case, we have multiplied each item by 2 times. All right. Yeah, and you also have a filter function. Filter function is different. So it adds the item. It also does the looping thing where it iterates over each item in the array. But if this item, if it meets a certain condition, it will add this item to a new array, and then it returns this new array at the end. In this case, if the item is even, it returns true, and it will add that item to a new array, and then at the end of the loop it returns this array to this new variable here. So in this case it's obviously going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and that's what even array will be, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Right. Libraries are a preset of written code, because if you're trying to code something new, the chances are it's already been made before, so you might be wasting your time. So, and a really cool example is jQuery. It's one of the most popular libraries out there. You kind of use it to select particular elements on pages and stuff like that, and it reduces the syntax for doing that. And other things you can do is like make AJAX requests, which we aren't totally diving into in this workshop. I have to rush through this. You can include modules in your app using import my module name. You can name it whatever you want from my module. That EE is a typo here. Let's see what else I have. I think, yeah, I'll just quickly explain to you what asynchronous JavaScript is, because this is the most important bit. We're not totally diving into advanced JavaScript, but so sometimes if you're sending a request to a server, the response from that server is not going to be immediate, and this can be problematic if you're writing normal JavaScript code, because JavaScript executes code one line at a time. So what it's going to do is it's going to end up waiting for that response, and if that response takes too long, your page is going to freeze. It's not going to execute the rest of the code, and you don't want that ideally. So that's when asynchronous JavaScript comes into play. What happens is that asynchronous JavaScript, I'm not allowed to talk about this other concept of how asynchronous JavaScript actually works, but it fixes the problem. It stops your code from being blocked. It continues executing the rest of the code while a particular process like requesting for information takes place on in some other dimension. The best analogy I can give right now. So thanks for listening. Not quite yet. I have to finish this website that I'm making. Okay, hold on, we got this, guys. So our web page currently looks like this, right? Let me just have it here. So okay, I'm gonna go to my JavaScript thing, and here's what I'm gonna do. I am going to have some selectors here. I want to select particular pieces of information from my website. Okay, I want to select the name that the user has entered into the form. So I'm going to do document.get element by ID. Now if I go back here, the ID for this was pet name. So yeah, pet name, and it's a typo right there. Pet name and const breed list. We will be getting this. Did I name this breed list? Yep. No, I didn't. Oh, I called it pet breed. Let's call this breed list because it's a better name. Breed list. Right. Breed list, and just gonna call that. Hang on, let's copy this. It's so much easier. Breed list. All right, and yeah, I want a pet form. Oh, I've got 8 minutes. I can do this. Okay, so that will select the pet form. I haven't given it a name yet. Have a ID? Pet form. Yeah.
We also need more one of the first one, pet name. So can we get element by ID?
Sorry, what? Oh, yep, that's right. Thanks, friends. Okay, then you have pet greet, which I'm going to create right now. Get element by ID, pet greet. So yeah, I'm just going to create a paragraph down here. In this one, I'm just going to create a paragraph tag and give it the ID, pet greet. Okay. Yeah, yeah, pet greet, and I need one for the image. Pet image is equal to document.get element by ID. Pet image. Right. So I need to create the tag for that one as well. So we have a paragraph tag for the pet greet thing, and we have a tag for the image, and we're going to give it an ID called pet image. Okay. The first thing I want to do is I want to, from this API that we just looked at over here, I want to fetch all the different breeds of the dogs. So there's this app called Postman. So if we just have a look at, yeah, so there's this thing called Postman which allows you to send requests to particular server. Don't really have time to go into that, but if I send a GET request to this particular link, you can see what the website sends you back with. No, this is an error. That's not what we're trying to send. Okay, that's the link. Breed.list, breed/list.all. If you send a request to this link, as you can see, it sends you a object with a key called message that also consists of an object with all the breed names. So we want to send a request. That's how we know that we want to send a request to this link here. Yeah, so that's why Postman can be useful. Go back to our website and okay, so the reason why I'm doing this, you use the fetch API to send GET requests. GET requests are requests where you send when you want to get information from a server. And I don't really have time to explain to you how exactly this works, but GET request fetch is an asynchronous function, so it's working in another dimension, as I used as my analogy. So, and to deal with it, returns something called a promise, and to deal with that promise, I use the then function. Okay, so here's what no, okay, so I get that data that is sent back from it, and I parse it as JSON file, as JSON data, and with that JSON, what I want to do is okay, so the JSON data that is returned to us from that request, I'm going to grab it, and what I want to do is going to be, what I'm going to do with that data is going to be inside this code block here. So here's what I want to actually do with it. For every value in this object, which object was it? If you go back to Postman, wait, did I close Postman? No, I didn't close Postman. Postman's right over here. So yeah, so inside the object you have a key called message, and that's where the object with all the breed names are. So I'm gonna have to do data.message to get that object inside the object. So we're running a for loop over it, and what I want to do, if you recall correctly, is where is it? Yeah, I want to add it to this select breed. I add it as options to this select breed thingy. So what I'm gonna do is pet greet. No, sorry, it's breed list, isn't it? That's that grabs our this thing here. Where is it? Breed list. It grabs our select tag here, and what we can do is we can modify the HTML inside that tag using the inner HTML property, and we can basically append stuff to it using plus equal to. And I'm just going to append this option value is equal to okay, x, since I made x my iteration variable, plus then we wanna, okay, yeah, wait, that, and oh, I don't think it really matters if I put that here, and yeah, that's it. And I actually want the option to be here, and then option, there you go. I think that should do the job. So if I refresh the page, now you can see it's displaying all of that. Yeah, so it's displaying that. Now the only thing we need to do is actually make it draw the image here. So right, if we go back to the API quickly over here, the procedure for getting the images is that it sends a request. Hi guys, this is Ash from the future. So I just wanted to let you know that this is the link where we will be sending the get request to. And you see the place where it says Husky, this is where the select breed input will be parsed into. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add an event. So, and when this form is submitted, it's listening to the event for this form being submitted. I want to execute a function called get image. Yeah. So I'm going to define this get image function up here. Right. So one thing I want to do is I want to capture that event, and I'm just going to write this thing here. Prevent default. Hopefully I've spelled it correctly. Okay. Okay, what that does is it prevents the page from refreshing when you submit the form, because you don't want it to do that, because the image will disappear once it appears. So let's get this image to actually appear. So if you go back to the Doggy API, let's copy this link. Okay, now okay, so I want to fetch it from that link here. Why is it doing that? I don't know, not like it's a problem. Oh wait, to put this in here. Okay, and yeah, plus that, copy this, put it in here. Okay, plus, and in between here I want to choose the I want to select the value of the breed list selector that the user has selected. So I just do that, and yeah, once I've done that, I have to actually do something with the data that is returned. So yeah, we're nearly done. So the response that we get, parse it as JSON, and then with that JSON object, okay, so it returns us an object that again has a message key, which consists of the link. So I want to grab that that link, and I want to append it to the well, I want to set it as the src of this image tag here. So to do that, what I'm gonna do is first off, let me just do the pet greet thingy dot inner HTML saying, hi, I am $pet name, value. Oops. Yeah, this is basically, you remember how we typed the name here? It basically says hi and prints that name along with it. Yeah.
Ash, can you scroll down a bit?
Whoops. Yep.
Cheers.
My bad. Yeah. And the last but not least, pet image. we're gonna set the src of this image tag to the link that we have just received from this from the server, from the API, sorry. And okay, src is equal to data.message, because it's in a key called the called message in that JSON object. So hopefully this should do the job. Okay, now let's just try this. Let's call this Benjamin, and I'm gonna choose Husky because that's my favorite dog breed. Submit. Hi, I'm Benjamin. Whoa, it's appearing. Cool, this is success. All we have to do now is we need to add some styling to it. Can quickly do that. Pet image. I think that's the style sheet. Pet image. I can do max width. Set that to 100%. And there you go. We're essentially done, guys. So you can select any other type of breed of dog, and it just prints it out, fetches it. And as you can see, it's taking some time to do that because requests don't resolve immediately. Whew. Okay, I guess that is basically it for this workshop. My timing wasn't exactly correct, but we got there in the end. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Discord. I know I didn't exactly do particularly well in the time management. It was my first time running a workshop, but it was fun. I will try, and I'll put the source code for this on Discord, and the presentation will be put up in the Google Drive folder that I will link in the workshops channel. Thank you guys so much for watching this workshop. I'm really honored.